We have many snakes here on BCI, and neither you nor I know exactly how many different species, but there are many different species, and they're in every layer of the forest, from the forest floor all the way up to the canopy. We have, and they range from vipers to non-venomous snakes. They're all very efficient hunters at capturing their prey. I thought let's start with the vipers and talk a little bit about the vipers that we have here on BCI.
Right. Well, the vipers is the family of snakes that we used to think of as the ones which have large fangs, and they are sometimes heavy snakes that live on the ground. We of course have some vipers that we know well in the U.S.
Like the rattlesnake.
The rattlesnake is a viper, the copperhead, the water moccasin, these are vipers as well. And as you know now that they don't all live in the same places. Of course, the water moccasin lives in the water, etc. Here in the rainforest, we have much more of a choice, or the snakes have much more of a choice, because the different layers are so much different, more different here than they are back home in the U.S. So here we have the forest floor, which may have many different species of vipers that are ground dwellers. They are specialized to live on the floor, to not be seen by enemies of them, you know, as a species, as well as by the prey that they're there to hunt. They hunt species that live on the forest floor. Other snakes live a little bit higher up in the bush area, in the upper bush area, and it could be shoulder height and above. Others yet are way up in the trees, and they actually live off of birds and lizards that live very high up. So there's a great deal of specialization. This is a skull, by the way, of a rattlesnake. The rattlesnake obviously doesn't live here, but this is a good model, because if you saw the skull of a fer-de-lance, it would look very similar to this. This is the fang. This is the venom injection needle, if you wish, that these snakes come with. Very specialized apparatus that has an opening up here that connects to a gland that sits where the ear would be, back in this area. Snakes don't have ears. They don't have any mechanism to pick up sound whatsoever. No bones that we have in our inner ear. They don't have any tympanic membrane. They have no way of hearing. That way they will pick up sound through vibrations. But this gland that is almost like it's a salivary gland that produces the venom, that feeds it into the top of the fang and then comes out at the bottom. That's the injection part. Now, of course, you can understand when you see this that the snake couldn't possibly close its mouth if these fangs were sticking out like this. So what they can do is they fold this whole fang back on a little hinge that is actually a bone that is the same bone that we have in our entire upper jaw. It's connected directly to the fang, and this has evolved over thousands, if not millions of years. Snakes have been around for as long as we know, and of course, what you can also see from this skull is that the upper part of the skull is solid. However, the lower jaws, the mandibles as it's called, which are the lower jaws that you can see, long narrow bones here, and if I turn the snake head, the skull, towards the camera, you'll see that the front here is open. You know that you have teeth at the bottom of your jaw that you can chew apples with, bite off pieces of meat or whatever. Snake can't do that. They can't separate the food by biting it. So they have to feed the whole the whole animal, not live, but dead, of course, yes, into the alimentary canal, the digestive system. And if you look at these two long, slender jaw bones, you'll find that, number one, they're disconnected from one another here. If you look at it from the side, the joint back here is also loose. That means that it can send down the whole jaw like a big arm on either side, independent of one another, and use it just like two big arms and feed in the food using these grapple-like teeth that are meant to just hook on and drag the food into the mouth and for swallowing.
What if you look, efficient hunting.
It is an incredibly efficient machine, and if you can see here at the top of the jaw, I don't know if you can catch that. Let me see if I can hold this way. You see the grappling teeth back here are actually placed in the roof of the mouth. So where we have nothing in the roof of our mouth, snakes actually have two nice rows of teeth that they can help also feed the prey, the meat, into their gastric system, if you wish. Yeah, we have little friends here, one of which, the first one I'm going to show you here, is a small snake. It's actually a baby. It may be a year old or so.
So it'll get much larger than that?
Yes, this snake grows to be approximately a meter long, about 3 feet. It's a little docile now. It's been resting in the heat here, and it's actually a night dweller, so now we have it out during the day. It really would rather be out at night and sleep during the day. You can see again the color of the snake is such that you could barely find it if it's on the ground. It eats frogs. It has, if you can see, I don't think you can see, the eye has a vertical pupil. It does have a venom apparatus. It produces a venom that can actually be almost dangerous for humans as well. And what you see here, he wants to go back.
Getting a little active.
He wants to go back to nature. Contrary to the teeth that you saw on the skull, this little fella has a tooth that sits behind the eye. He doesn't want to be part of the movie here. Behind the eye, farther back in the head, and actually that is how it injects its venom into what it eats, namely small frogs. It really eats a lot of frogs when they hatch, and here on the island they probably hatch year-round. And then it goes up into the bush, a few feet up, and there digests its food. And
that was going to be my question: is it found on the forest floor? Is it found in the understory?
It's a low bush to ground floor dweller, and it's really a frog eater more than anything else. This is a day snake, and he's very active. So the other guy was a little dazed. This one is active and happy to move around. You see the tongue of the snake as well, which is how they smell. They pick up scent molecules that they pick up from, in this case, my fingers, and it takes the tongue tips back into its mouth and stick them up into an organ, a little pocket that sits in the roof of the mouth, which functions just like a very sensitive nose.
So it smells with its tongue.
Yeah, and you see the eyes here. The pupil is round on this, very large eyes. It can take in a lot of light. It's a good hunter, can measure distance very well, because if you see from the top of the head, you see that these eyes are big, just like a crocodile, set wide apart. That gives it good perspective when hunting. It has the ability to hang on and stay straight. As you know, when it climbs from a branch, if I hold it like this, it can easily pick itself up to my hand and get up on a branch, back again, and it has a tail that allows it to grip very nicely and hold on.
And what do we call that kind of a tail?
We call it a prehensile tail, just like the thumb and the hand of the monkey can grab a branch as well.
Right.
I'm going to show you a skull of a snake that we don't have here on the island, but a snake that actually lives in South America. This is the anaconda. In the Amazon River, actually. This is the anaconda, and many of you have heard of that snake. It's a very large, very heavy snake that is so heavy that it depends on water to move around. It, as you can see here, has a different set of teeth. It doesn't have a fang. This whole bone here is the same bone that was this little dot joint, that almost a hinge that was sitting on top of the fang on the other snake skull that we looked at. And instead this one has equipped its bone with all these grappling, holding teeth that it has also on its lower jaw, as you can see here. And in fact, if I turn the snake so you can see the inside of its mouth, you see another row in here, as well as one on this side. These are also grappling teeth, and you can see them from the side. If I do this,
reminds me of a shark's jaw in some way.
Yes, it does. But the difference is that these teeth stay for life. A snake that has fangs has spare fangs. It'll grow. It has at least a couple of spare fangs at any time that it can, because they sometimes break off.
Okay.
And they need to replace those. They are a moving part. These teeth stay for life. A shark will grow row after row after row all the time and just unfold new rows all the time.
So it just keeps growing.
Well, but this does not.
Right, the shark
this is set for life. But you see, these teeth, they almost don't look like the teeth that you have with a root and all. They are more firmly attached to the skull bone. But everything else is an intact top part of the skull bone.